Hey everybody, AC here, and welcome back to another episode of Terrible Theories. Uh, and this time we're going to be returning to a previous theory that I made um, over a year ago. Let's see, when did this, when exactly did it come up? Oh, yes, it was like just over a year ago. It is February 22nd, and it was February 10th. It was February 10th when I posted part two of this theory. And here we are, a year later, giving you the third and final part. Um, uh, just to recap, I taught in the previous two parts to this two-part series. I talked about how I personally believe that the true villains of Pokemon Sword and Shield is the player character. The player character, as you go through the game, you are actually doing more harm than good. And that all the post game stuff, you have so many responsibilities and you are actively ignoring them. And the lives of all the people you meet are actually worse after coming into contact with you. And I truly do believe this theory. I, uh, whenever I make a theory, I always take my own theories with a grain of salt, because even I don't really fully buy into the theories that I craft. Even I don't fully buy into the theories I craft most of the time. There are a few exceptions. Like one theory that I 100% believed and wound up being completely correct on was my thought that the Sonic Force's third character is going to be a character that you create yourself, a custom character. Um, and there was also one about a theory I made about how Hyrule Warriors is a prequel to Breath of the Wild, and that turned out to also be true. Uh, Another one about Kingdom Hearts Key, and how the traitor in that story is set up. That the very act of making people believe there is a traitor is what actually causes the traitor to show up in the first place. That there wasn't going to be a traitor, and the Master of Masters basically set all of this up in order to force a traitor to appear. And I still believe that to be true. I still 100% believe that to be true. Um, and then there's also how the Ben 10 reboot fits in the Ben 10 timeline. And again, I believe that to be true. The Danny Phantom theory, which is still my most popular theory on my channel, I 100% still believe that. Absolutely 100%. But aside from those, I don't really believe any of my other theories. I'm just kind of talking out of my ass, and just kind of saying whatever shit comes to my mind. But these theories about the Sword and Shield's true villain being the player character, I 100% believe. Absolutely. I fully believe what I am saying here. So, in this episode, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Pokemon Masters EX. Because last year there was an event for Pokemon Masters EX. There was an event for Pokemon Masters EX where they brought in Marnie, Hop, and Bede from Pokemon Sword and Shield, except it is established in the game that these are different versions of the three characters from alternate realities where they wound up becoming champion, not the player character. And so this episode is going to be focusing on establishing what those worlds would look like if any of those three became champion, and trying to determine whether or not the player character becoming champion is the good timeline or the worst timeline. So let's go ahead and start with Hop. Hop is your main rival throughout Sword and Shield. And in Pokemon Masters EX, in Pokemon Masters EX, he's gone. He's already established. He establishes through your conversations with him in the game that he's already gone through his whole story arc that he went through in Sword and Shield. It just so happens that at the very end, when the player character and Hop battle for the last time before the winner is decided to face off against Leon, he winds up winning that battle. So he ends up facing Leon. He beats Leon, becomes the new champion. So the fact that we know that he's already gone through his whole story arc means that he has seen everything that is wrong with Galar. He has seen what's wrong with the region. He understands what needs to be done, and he knows that he is not super smart. He knows that he doesn't have all the answers, and to ask people for help when he needs it. He's gone through his whole story arc, so he understands that he is allowed to ask others for help when he needs it. So Hop would be in a position where he would do exactly what he needs to do. He would accept his responsibilities, do what needs to be done, ask people who know more about certain situations than him for help, so that way the best outcome can be reached. That is the kind of champion he would end up being, based on the information we have. And based on that, automatically he's doing a better job than the player character, seeing as how the player character ignores all of their responsibilities and just goes off to have a vacation on a tropical island and go to have picnics in the frozen tundra. Just completely ignoring their responsibilities to the region itself and just going off and doing whatever they want. So automatically, Hop is doing a better job. So he's out. So he would be a better fit for champion than the player character. Okay, moving on. What about Marnie? Sweet, sweet Marnie. In the main game, we learn that she is doing all of this, trying to become champion in order to help her hometown, her home city. She wants to help Spike move. She wants to get tourists back in there in order to raise sales for the shops there. So because people in her city are living on the streets, and a lot of members of the city have become parts of a fan club for her. Except most of them don't actually believe she can actually accomplish her dream of becoming champion. They don't think she actually has it in her. That's why they go out of their way to try to force others to forfeit. That's why they're constantly acting as roadblocks. It's to force others to forfeit, so Marnie wins by default, because they don't actually think she can pull it off. And the Marnie we talked to in Pokemon Masters EX, she talks about how she had a heart. She talks about how she had a heart to heart with her brother, and that she won a deal that she had made with him. She makes a deal with her brother in the game, in Sword and Shield, where if she doesn't become champion, she'll become the new gym leader for Spikemuth. That was the deal she made with her brother, and she says that she won that deal, meaning she becomes champion. So this is after her story arc has already completed. So we know Marnie is very brilliant. Marnie is incredibly smart. She already has ideas as to things that she wants to do with her position as champion. She has things in mind that she wants to do. She knows how bad things can get for people, and so she more than anyone would want to ensure that everyone is able to eat, to have a home, to have somewhere to go when they're lost and they're homeless and jobless. She would want to ensure that everyone is able to have a home, have food, have a job, be able to make a living. So under her leadership, there would be a big spike in job opportunities. There would be a spike in job opportunities, and she would most likely end up creating large buildings to house the homeless, and she would open up Galler's borders a lot more fully in order to get more tourists to come in to generate more income for the region, because she understands the importance of generating income. So I feel like if anyone's going to be a great champion for Galar, it would be Marnie. I feel like out of all three of these, she would probably be the best. Now, that's two. What about your third rival, Bede? Bede is a jerk throughout the majority of the game. He is a complete douche nozzle throughout the majority of Sword and Shield. He does learn his lesson in the main. He does learn his lesson in the main game, and he ends up being taken on by Opal and trained to become the new fairy gym leader. And so that's interesting. But how is he? How does he fare in Pokemon Master ZX? Well, in Pokemon Master ZX, when you talk to him, he doesn't really give much information on when when this takes place as far as his story. It doesn't really give us much information. However, there is one detail about Bede that does tell us at what point of his story this version of him was taken from. Throughout the majority of the game, Bede's eyes are kind of glazed over. Bede's eyes are kind of glazed over, and not super expressive until he becomes the new fairy gym leader after he's been given training by Opal. Then he's got expressive eyes. He's got very expressive eyes after that. And we see those same expressive eyes. Eyes in Pokemon Masters EX. Those are the eyes that he has in Pokemon Masters EX. So that one detail tells us that this is happening again after Bede has gone through his story arc. All three of these characters, they've already gone through their story arcs and become champion after that. So, what's Bede like after his story arc in the main game? He's still pretty overconfident in his abilities, but he knows a lot about Galar. He knows a lot about the region, the problems that it faces, and he is a very smart kid. He is a very smart kid. So he most likely already has ideas on how to deal with it. How does he know Gallo's all of Gallo's problems? Well, he was the student of Chairman Rose. Chairman Rose had taken Bede under his wing, and he was working for Chairman Rose throughout the first half of the game. So he's spending a lot of time with Chairman Rose, the person who, would know all the problems that is going on in Galar. So he already has a good network to go off of. He already knows exactly what's wrong, and he already knows exactly what's wrong with the region. And because of how intelligent he is, he most likely already has a few ideas on how to solve it. He would be all about efficiency. That said, because of how overconfident he is, I feel like he would probably still end up making a few mistakes here and there. I don't think he would enjoy asking others for help. I feel like if it really came down to it, at that point in his story arc, he would ask for help if he really needed to. But I feel like that would be a last resort for Bede. That Bede would do everything in his power to avoid asking for help until he absolutely had to. And that's just how stubborn he is. That's just because of how stubborn he is. But I do think that he would make a decent... Sorry. I do think he would make a decent champion. He would not completely disregard all of his duties. He would not disregard his responsibilities as a champion. He would absolutely do what he needs to do. He would do exactly what he needs to do in order to ensure the prosperity of the region. He would just be kind of stubborn about asking others for help, which probably would take it. It would probably mean that the prosperity of the Galar region would take a lot longer to be effective. It would be a very slow climb to prosperity with Bede in charge, but it would be an incline. So there you go. We've got a pretty decent understanding of what characters we're dealing with, and knowing the context of each of their story arcs and what their experiences are in the region, we can make pretty good educated guesses as to what their versions of Galar would look like. Now, out of all three of them, Marnie would most likely be the absolute best champion, with Hop being a pretty close second. And Bede, he wouldn't be great, but he would be better than the player. He would still be a better champion than the player. So when you get down to it, the player character becoming champion is the worst timeline, because the player character is actively ignoring their responsibilities and making things absolutely worse for everyone. So there you go. My third and final episode of Pokemon Sword and Shield's True Villains. I hope you all enjoyed these three episodes. I really enjoyed making them. There's going to be one more terrible theory that's going to come up before Saturday. I'm going to try to do it today. I'm going to try to do it today here in a little bit. But if I'm unable to do it today, then it'll happen tomorrow. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that good jazz. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.